And it's still not loaded. But basically, what you would do to set up for this activity to begin is you would have hundreds charts available for kids, and they actually have a copy in the back here, so you could use their copy or one that you have in your classroom. And then the counters, it has the two-sided counters, but you could use beans, you can use anything. It's just for them to be able to mark on the hundreds chart as they go along. And this is great because it keeps kids engaged. So it's not just like during your mini lesson, it's not just you talking at the board and having one kid come up. Instead, all the kids have something to be actively listening with.
And like Suzanne said, we've made a SmartBoard file. It's not quite finished yet, but we'll send it to John and share as soon as it's completed. But this would be for a mini lesson to introduce Place by You riddles, and then we are also making station cards which will attach to this file that the kids can use in a station after you've done the mini lesson. Even if you don't have SmartBoards in your classroom, you still have the software, so you can still use it on a TV.
A tip to make it more interactive, if you don't have a SmartBoard in your classroom and you're doing this from a TV or a projector and they don't have the ability to touch, a great way to do that would be you can get the wireless mouse, and kids can use the wireless mouse so that way they're still interacting with the screen.
Okay. All right, so let's see if we can find the clues.
Okay, so you would start off the lesson by asking kids if they've ever heard of a riddle and kind of talking about, and even though we are in math right now, we would probably start a riddle that's more of a traditional riddle for them to kind of get the idea of what a riddle is and go from there. And so the first riddle clue is I could be a pet. So now, does anybody have any suggestions for what a pet for our riddle?
A cat.
Cat.
A dog.
And you could write it on chart paper, or you could write on the SmartBoard.
Potbelly pig.
Dog. Hamster.
So you would record a few of them and then give kids the next clue. I have 4 legs. And during this time, you would talk to the kids about which of the, either they can add to the list, or you would talk to them about which of these cannot be our pet because it does not have 4 legs. So,
What could we cross out?
Fish.
bird,
Do you want me to go on next?
yes. So at this point, we're left with cat, potbelly pig, dog, and hamster. And it says, I like to run on the wheel in my cage.
It's a hamster.
Okay. And if that happened in your class, you would say, well, how do you know that it's a hamster? What clue gave it away? And have that discussion with them.
And then you can click on the magnifying glass and the answer.
And if you needed to, you might have to have more clues. So, for example, if we came up with, maybe they had rat and things like that, well, a rat would run on a wheel also. So you might think, well, okay, so another clue is he has no tail.
So then you would move on to the numbers. And they're doing the same thing, except for now they have the hundreds chart. And we have hundreds charts on your tables if you would like to keep track of it on a hundreds chart. And so we give them the first clue and say, my number is more than 30. What could the secret number be? So kids use the hundreds chart and they start marking, which they could do it 2 ways. They could mark the ones that they think it can't be and black those out, or it could be that they're putting the place markers on the numbers that they think could be the number. So,
Does this remind you of all that old Marcy Cook stuff? Yeah. Right?
so what could the secret number be? Any ideas?
What?
66.
85. I think it's 85 too.
74.
100.
What about 32? I think it's 32. Could it be 32? Could it be 19? I like 19.
No.
Why not?
Because it's, well, the first clue is it's more than 30.
Oh, and 19's not.
19's
And how she just kind of threw one out there, it's a great way to kind of get that discussion if it doesn't come up that a student does a number that doesn't fit the criteria. Also, they suggest in the book having kids talk with a partner at their table about the reasonableness of an answer. The next clue is my number is less than 62. So they would move around their place markers and cross off some of these answers. Okay, the next one is, my number is odd. So now you could have that discussion of what is an odd number? How do we know if a number is odd? Which of these numbers is odd, or which of these numbers cannot be our number for today? The last clue, my number is the sum of 20 and 21. So then you can ask them, well, how do you know? If the kid raises their hand and says, oh, it must be, then how do you know? And then having that discussion of how is it, if your answer is 41, did it meet all of the other criteria? And you have some of that discussion of more than, less than, odd, even. After you go through, we're going to put a few more on here that go along with the book. And then after you go through these, there's a set of cards that can be used whole group or small group, but we were thinking it could be used as a small group station. And kids, you know, you can cut them apart and put them in a bag, or in something where the kids can actually pull one out at a time. Or if you wanted to have the accountability of some kind of record sheet, it could be that you have some of them in order so that way you know which one they did first. But they could then be doing this activity as part of a small group.
And also, you know, we didn't do it here, but going along with the book that we've been reading, we would have more conversation, letting the kids discuss, you know, well, do you agree with that number? Why not? And letting them, well, what do you think about what they just said, and bouncing that back and forth instead of just us back and forth.